All right. So the problem with my voltmeter has been resolved. The problem actually was quite simple, but very elusive. I couldn't find it. Peterbilt, the dealer, they couldn't find the problem. Um, I went there twice. Both of them, they both mechanics spent about the first time. The guy spent about 6-7 hours on it. He checked all the cables, the battery cables, alternator cables, starter cables, everything. They tested the alternator, the battery, the starter. Everything was fine. Obviously, the problem came right after they had changed my starter. They tested everything. Everything was turning out fine. Now, the second time I went there, the voltmeter now was reading ridiculous numbers. Now it was going to 10 volts while I was driving. And it was now leaning on the red side, which was getting bad and getting scary. With the cold temperatures, at one point it will give no start. Like I would try to crank it and it won't start. Now, I checked out some trends, some same kind of problems of people that had posted some problems on trucknews.com. Asked some guys, and both the people that I asked, they all say that check the cables. They had a similar problem as I had, and they say check the cables. There's a bad ground somewhere. There's a positive that's not properly connected somewhere. There's check your cables. So after I hadn't gone to Peterbilt twice, and they still couldn't resolve my situation, and I wasn't looking to pay a third bill, I started checking all my connections, checking all my cables. Then one day, I ended up deciding that probably the problem was with the starter, the cable that runs from the starter to the battery. So I was prepared to change those cables. So while I was trying to take the cables off, I realized that the cable on the negative side was loose. I mean, loose, like you could have taken that bolt off without a ratchet. So I just tightened it up, went back in the truck, turned the key on, and boom, it went straight to 14.1 volts. So some problems are quite easy, some problems are quite difficult. This was a very easy fix. No parts needed to replace, but obviously because guys at Peterbilt didn't know what the problem was exactly. I mean, obviously the problem had to do with what they had just finished doing, which was somewhat to do with the starter. And the bolt on the starter was loose. The connection of the ground wire from the alternator linking up at the starter, and the same cable from the battery to the starter, they all join at the starter. So that bolt wasn't properly tightened up. So that was causing the problem. So after that, everything has been working fine. So if anybody out there's got a similar problem, your voltmeter is changing, it's going up and down. My alternator has always been giving out, always 14.1. Obviously, the second time I went to Peterbilt, they were now suggesting to change the alternator, saying that even though it might be giving 14.1, it might not be giving 14.1, which didn't make sense, but that was the next thing that they wanted to do. I decided not to do it. But here we go. The problem was fixed, and $2,000 and something down the drain, obviously. I mean, they did go through all the wires and verify everything, which I had already did, actually. But, that's the story.